The approaching music stormed the prideful fleet. Commander Carrick stood tall in the observation dome of the warship Eternal Dominion, his forearms crossed confidently across his chest as he gazed at the star system ahead. Ja Confederation had ruled this sector of space for over 4 centuries. Their purple-hulled vessels were known across 100 worlds as harbingers of inevitable conquest. Today would be no different. The holographic display flickered to life before him. Tactical Officer Narix approached with measured steps. Her silver eyes reflected the glow of the screen. She had served under Kix for 20 cycles and had never questioned his judgment. Today was no exception. Commander, we have completed our scans of the human settlement. Narix reported. Her voice carried the calm certainty of a warrior who had seen countless victories. The colony designation is Kepler 442b. Population approximately 2 million. Mostly civilian, with minimal military presence. Kerwax's mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. The Zarin had encountered dozens of species in their expansion. Most surrendered immediately when they saw the might of the Confederation fleet. Those who resisted were crushed within hours. These humans would be no different. What defenses do they possess? Kerouac asked, though he already assumed the answer would be unimpressive. Narix manipulated the hologram. Images of human vessels appeared in the air. They were blocky and utilitarian. No elegant curves like Zarin ships. No beautiful energy matrices glowing along their hulls. Just dull metal boxes with visible rivets and welding seams. 6 patrol corvettes and 2 orbital defense platforms. Narix continued. Their weapons appear to be chemical propellant-based projectile systems. No plasma technology detected. No graviton beams. Their largest vessel is barely 300 m in length. A ripple of amusement passed through the bridge. Crude chemical propellants. Such primitive technology had been abandoned by advanced civilizations millennia ago. The Zarin used refined plasma that could melt through reinforced titanium like hot vapor through ice crystals. And their defensive shields? Kix inquired. Minimal electromagnetic barriers only. Narix replied, our weapons will penetrate them without difficulty. Intelligence suggests they have only been a spacefaring species for approximately 150 years. They are technological infants. Quax turned to address his crew. 200 Sauron warriors occupied the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Each one was a veteran of multiple campaigns. Behind this flagship traveled 49 additional warships, cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. Together they carried enough firepower to reduce an entire moon to molten slag. Attention all ships. Quacks broadcast across the fleet channel. We stand before another primitive species that occupies valuable territory. This system contains 3 habitable planets and abundant resources. The Confederation requires these worlds for expansion. We will offer the humans one opportunity to surrender their colony peacefully. If they refuse, we will demonstrate why the Ja Confederation has never known defeat. Affirmative responses came from every ship captain. The fleet moved into attack formation. It was a beautiful sight. 50 vessels arranged in perfect geometric patterns, their plasma cannons charged and ready, their shields shimmering with contained energy. First contact. The human response came within the hour. Transmission from the colony appeared on Cax's screen. A human male looked back. At him, the creature had only 2 arms and 2 eyes. Its skin was pale pink. Almost fragile looking, it wore a simple military uniform with insignia, Career X. Did not recognize, this is Colonel Marcus Webb of the Kepler 442 Colonial Defense Force, the human said. His voice was calm but firm. We have detected your fleet approaching our system. State your intentions. Kix leaned forward. I am Commander Kix of the Ja Confederation. Your colony occupies territory that belongs to our empire. You will evacuate this system within 48 hours. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Colonel Webb's expression did not change. Commander, this colony has been legally established for 30 years. These people have built homes and families. Here we will not abandon them. I urge you to withdraw peacefully. Violence benefits no one. Such naive words. Coax had heard similar pleas from countless species. They all ended the same way. You have primitive weapons and minimal defenses, Coax said coldly. We have 50 warships equipped with technology you cannot match. Surrender is your only logical option. The human colonel took a deep breath. We will defend our home. Commander, that is our final answer. The transmission ended. Kerouac felt no anger, only mild disappointment. Another species choosing pointless resistance over practical surrender. He turned to his weapons officer. All ships prepare to engage. Target their defense platforms first, then eliminate their patrol vessels. Avoid striking the colony itself if possible. We want the infrastructure intact for Ja settlers. The fleet advanced. The human defenders scrambled to intercept. Their 6 corvettes took position between the Ja fleet and the planet. The orbital platforms activated their targeting systems. It was brave but futile. Battle begins. The first exchange of fire was brief. Zarin plasma cannons unleashed brilliant purple streams of superheated energy. They struck the human corvettes with precision. The electromagnetic barriers flickered and failed within seconds. The plasma burned through the outer hulls, but something unexpected happened. The human ships did not explode. The plasma burned holes in their armor, yes, but the vessels remained operational. Their compartmentalized design prevented catastrophic damage. Bulkhead sealed automatically. Backup systems activated. And then the humans returned fire. Projectile weapons looked crude, simple. Metal slugs launched by chemical explosions, but these slugs moved fast. Very fast. They impacted Zarin shields with tremendous kinetic energy. The shields held, but the impact readings were higher than expected. Continue firing, Kerouac ordered. Consent. Plasma beams on single targets burned through their armor completely. The Zuan fleet focused fire on one human corvette. Multiple plasma beams converged on the small vessel. The armor glowed white. Hot metal began to melt and peel away. The corvette's engines failed. It began to drift, but even as it died, its weapons kept firing. Automated systems continued to target Ja ships. The crew had apparently abandoned the vessel, but its guns still operated independently. The second corvette lasted longer. It maneuvered aggressively, using thruster bursts to dodge incoming plasma. Its projectile weapons scored hits on a Zarin destroyer. The slugs punched through the shields and dented the outer Whole, actual physical damage to a Confederation vessel. It was supposed to be impossible. Status report, quacks. Demanded, 2 human corvettes destroyed. Narek replied for remaining, however. Commander, their weapons are more effective than anticipated. The destroyer Glory of Zaros has suffered hull breaches, 3 casualties. Reported, casualties against primitive chemical weapons. Kerouac felt the first stirring of doubt. The battle continued. For 20 minutes, one by one the human corvettes were destroyed. The orbital platforms fell next, their structures torn apart by concentrated plasma fire. But the humans had inflicted damage. Real damage, 5 Zin ships reported. Hull breaches, 13 warriors were dead or injured. Colonel Webb's face appeared on screen again. His uniform was scorched. Smoke drifted behind him. Commander, Kerouac, Webb said quietly, you have defeated our defense force, but understand this, we sent a priority signal when you first entered our system. Help is coming. I suggest you leave while you still can. Kayaks laughed. Help from where? The nearest human settlement is 40 light years away. No. Reinforcements will arrive in time to save you. You don't understand humanity. Very well, Webb said. There was something in his eyes now, not fear, something else, almost pity. We never leave our people undefended, never. The transmission ended. Kix dismissed it as bravado, desperate words from a defeated enemy. He ordered his fleet to prepare for planetary occupation. Then the sensor screamed, something approaches. Commander, the sensor officer's voice cracked with alarm. Massive contact. Emerging from hyperspace, distance 3 million km and closing fast. Kix spun toward the display. A single object appeared on the tactical screen. The size readings made no sense. Check your instruments, Kyx ordered. That cannot be accurate. Readings confirmed, Commander. The sensor officer insisted. Single vessel length 4.2 km, mass equivalent to a small asteroid, composition unknown. Hull density exceeds anything in our database. 4 km. The Eternal Dominion was barely 800 m long and was one of the largest ships in the Confederation fleet. What could the humans possibly have built that was 4 km in length? Classification, Kyx demanded. Unknown. Sir, the vessel is not broadcasting any identification. No active shields detected, just armor, layers and layers of armor and weapons. Commander, I am reading hundreds of weapon imp placements across the hall. The object was moving fast, accelerating beyond normal parameters. For a vessel that size, it should not be possible. Something that massive should be slow and unwieldy. Hail that vessel, Kerouac ordered. His confident tone had evaporated. The response came immediately. Text only, simple words and galactic standard. You sovereign, stand down immediately or be destroyed. You have attacked a human colony. This is your only warning. You united Earth system. The humans had sent a single ship to face 50 Zaran warships. It was insane. All ships combat formation. Kyx commanded. Prepare to engage the human vessel. Concentrate all fire on that target. The Zuan fleet turned to face the approaching battleship. 50 ships against 1. The outcome seemed obvious. But Kyx felt cold dread creeping through his body. The human battleship came closer. Its dark hull was visible. Now, no elegant design, just brutal functional armor plating, weapon ports, Bristled along its flanks, the bow section housed something massive, energy. Readings that made no sense. Target the human vessel, Kayaks said. All ships fire. At will, the Jean fleet opened fire. 50 ships unleashed their plasma cannons. Simultaneously, purple streams of superheated energy converged on the UE. Sovereign, enough firepower to vaporize a city. The plasma struck the battleship's hull. The armor glowed. Metal heated to incredible temperatures. But it did not melt, did not burn through. The armor was too thick, too resilient, and then the Sovereign fired back. The universe exploded in violence. Massive rail gun batteries along the Sovereign's flanks erupted, tungsten projectiles the size of transport vehicles launched at relativistic speeds. They crossed the distance in heartbeats. 3 zoo cruisers simply ceased to exist. The hypervelocity rounds punched through their shields like they were nothing, passed through their hulls from bow to stern. Kinetic energy was so immense that the ships disintegrated instantly. Kerouac watched in horror as his fleet died. Human weapons were not primitive. They were optimized, perfected, chemical propellants replaced by electromagnetic acceleration. Simple metal slugs transformed into relativistic kill vehicles. All ships evasive maneuvers. Kerouac screamed, scatter, get out of range, but there was no range safe enough. The Sovereign's weapons had incredible reach. Ships that tried to flee died just as quickly as those that stood and fought. The massive spinal cannon in the Sovereign's bow charged. Energy readings spiked beyond measurement. Then it fired a solid slug of depleted uranium, accelerated to 5% of light speed, crossed 3 million km in seconds. It hit a Ja battle cruiser dead center. The projectile went through. The ship kept going, hit the destroyer behind it and the cruiser behind that. For ships destroyed by a single shot, the penetrator continued into deep space, its momentum barely affected. Kayaks could not breathe, could not think. This was not how battles were supposed to unfold. The Ja Confederation had conquered 100 worlds. They had never faced anything like this. Commander, the human vessel is deploying additional weapons, Nar reported. Her voice trembled. Missile tubes opening. Hundreds of them. Energy signatures indicate nuclear warheads. Nuclear weapons, another technology the Zurin had abandoned as crude and inefficient. But when used in the vacuum of space, with yields measured in gigatons, they were terrifyingly effective. Missiles launched not dozens, hundreds. They swarmed toward the Ja fleet like angry insects. Point defense systems tried to shoot them down, failed. There were too many. The nuclear warheads detonated in sequential waves. EMP pulses shut down Zarin shields. Thermal radiation scorched hull plating. Kinetic shock waves threw ships off course, and through the chaos came the Sovereign. Unstoppable, merciless, its rail guns never ceased firing. Each shot killed. Each shot found a target. Cax's hands shook as he gripped his command console. Half his fleet was gone, just gone, and the human battleship had barely been scratched. Retreat, Kayaks ordered. All ships emergency hyperspace jump. Get us out of here. The surviving Jean vessels scrambled to escape. Engines overloaded. Hyperdrives engaged without proper calculations. Ships vanished into faster than light travel, abandoning formation, abandoning each other. The Eternal Dominion was one of the last to jump. As Kerouac's ship entered hyperspace, he looked back one final time. The UA Sovereign hung in space. Its dark hole was scored with plasma burns, minor damage only. It had destroyed 37 Zarin warships in less than 15 minutes, and Kix understood the terrible truth that humans had not sent their best ship. This was just one vessel. Earth had fleets, dozens of battleships, hundreds of cruisers, all armed with these horrifying weapons. The Zoran Confederation had made a catastrophic mistake. They had attacked a species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of killing each other, a species that built weapons not for honor or glory but for pure destructive efficiency. As hyperspace swallowed his ship, Kerouac knew his military career was over, but more than that, he knew the age of Ja dominance had ended. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had brought hell with them. The reckoning. The Sovereign's bridge. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood motionless on the command deck of the UE Sovereign. Her gray eyes tracked the fleeing Ja vessels on the tactical display. 13 enemy ships had escaped into hyperspace. 37 had been destroyed. Numbers scrolled across her screen with clinical precision. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency. No celebration, no cheering. This was not a victory to celebrate. This was a message being delivered. Statement being made to the galaxy. Damage report, Stone said quietly. Lieutenant Commander James Park looked up from his station. His dark hair was neat despite the battle. His uniform showed no signs of stress. That was the human way. Calm under fire, professional always. Hull integrity at 92%. Admiral Park reported, armor ablation minimal. Point defense grid operating at full capacity. All railgun batteries functional. Mass driver primary coil needs calibration but is operational. Engineering reports we are fully combat effective. Stone nodded. The Sovereign had been hit by enough plasma fire to melt a small moon, yet her armor had held composite layers of tungsten, carbide, ceramic plating, and reactive polymers, each layer designed to absorb and dissipate different types of energy. Beneath that, a honeycomb structure that distributed kinetic impacts across the entire hall. The Zarin had focused on energy shields. Humanity had focused on not getting hit in the first place and surviving when they did. Different philosophies, different results. Status of the colony, Stone asked. Kepler 442. Reports minimal damage. Admiral Communications Officer Sarah Chin replied. Colonel Webb confirms all civilians are safe. The orbital platforms are destroyed, but ground-based defenses remain intact. They're requesting permission to begin recovery operations for the fallen corvette crews. Stone closed her eyes briefly. 8 corvettes had defended the colony. Only 2 had survived. Good people had died buying time for the Sovereign to arrive. Their sacrifice would not be forgotten. Grant permission, Stone said, and transmit my personal commendations to Colonel Webb and his forces. They held the line when it mattered most. Yes, Admiral. Stone walked to the observation port. Beyond the reinforced crystal space was littered with debris. Pieces of Zoran warships drifted in the void. Some sections still glowed with residual heat, others tumbled slowly. Dark and lifeless, the Sovereign was old by Earth Defense Fleet standards. Commissioned 18 years ago, she had fought in the Belt Wars, the Titan insurrection, and the Mars blockade. Human conflicts, brutal, unforgiving. Wars where humanity had learned to kill itself with terrible efficiency. Now that knowledge had been turned outward. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. From Earth Command, Chin reported. Priority Alpha, Admiral Ayanquil requests. Immediate briefing, Stone straightened. Her uniform put him through main screen, the holographic display. Shimmered. Admiral Marcus Ayanquil appeared. He was a tall man with dark skin and sharp features. As Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces, he oversaw humanity's entire military apparatus, 200 warships, 15 battle fleets, millions of personnel. Admiral Stone Akono said, his deep voice filled the bridge. Status report, sir. The Zarin attack fleet has been neutralized. Stone replied, 37 enemy vessels destroyed, 13 escaped into hyperspace. Kepler 442 colony is secure. Civilian casualties are minimal. Military casualties are 73 personnel from the Colonial Defense Force. Akono's expression remained neutral. And the Sovereign combat effective, sir. Minor damage only. We are ready for follow-up operations. Good. Akono leaned forward. Because the situation is evolving. Intelligence has been monitoring Ja. Communications. The survivors transmitted detailed battle reports back to their home systems. The entire Confederation now knows what happened at Kepler 442. Stone waited. She had expected this. The Zarin High Command is convening emergency councils. Ayanquil continued. We're intercepting panicked transmissions across their empire. They're pulling back forces from contested borders, recalling exploration fleets. They're scared, Admiral. Genuinely terrified, as they should be. Sir. Akono nodded slowly. Command has decided this is an opportunity. The Ja Confederation has spent 4 centuries expanding through intimidation and overwhelming force. They've conquered dozens of species, enslaved entire populations. Now they've made the mistake of attacking humanity. Stone understood where this was going. Orders. Sir, you will proceed to the Ja border. Yano said the 3rd Fleet is being deployed to join you. 12 battleships, 24 cruisers and support vessels. You will establish a defensive perimeter along human space and make it absolutely clear that any further Jan aggression will be met with total war. Understood, sir. Admiral, I want to be perfectly clear about our objectives. Akin Quo said. His tone was serious. We are not conquering the Zin. We are not seeking to expand into their territory, but we are going to ensure they never threaten human colonies again. Show them our strength. Make them understand the cost of challenging Earth. Yes, sir. The transmission ended. Stone turned to her crew. They had heard everything. They knew what was coming. Lieutenant Park, plot a course to the Zunin border. Stone ordered. Maximum sustainable speed. We're going to wait for the 3rd Fleet to arrive. Then we're going to have a conversation with the Confederation. Course plotted. Admiral. ETA to border zone is 6 days. Helm execute. All hands prepare for extended operations. Sovereign's massive engines ignited. The battleship began moving away from Kepler 442, leaving the recovering colony behind. Admiral Stone watched the planet recede on her display. Those people down there would sleep safely tonight. That was what mattered. The Zarin home world. Across the void of space on the Ja home world of Zhou Prime, the High Command chamber was in chaos. Commander Kerouac stood before the assembled leadership. His uniform was scorched. His forearms trembled slightly. He had arrived on the home world only hours ago, his damaged flagship barely capable of hyperspace travel. Supreme Leader Vorin sat upon the central throne. His ancient scales were silver with age, his 6 eyes fixed on Kix with an intensity that made the younger warrior want to flee. Explain, Vorin said. The single word echoed through the chamber. Kix swallowed. Supreme Leader, we encountered resistance beyond all projections. Human vessel that engaged us possessed weapons and armor technology we have never encountered. Our plasma cannons were ineffective. Our shields failed to stop their projectiles. They destroyed 37 ships in less than 20 minutes. One ship, High Counselor Nexra demanded. Her voice dripped with disbelief. You lost 37 warships to one enemy vessel. Yes. Counselor Cowix's voice was barely above a whisper. The humans call it the UE Sovereign. It is over 4 km long. Armor plating meters thick. Weapons that fire solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. The kinetic energy alone was enough to penetrate our shields and destroy vessels instantly. Another counselor stood. This is impossible. We have conquered a 100 worlds. No species has technology superior to ours. The humans do not have superior technology. Kix said they have optimized technology. Everything about their ship is designed for one purpose only, survival and destruction. They do not waste resources on elegant designs or aesthetic beauty. Every system serves a combat function. Vorin raised one hand. Silence fell. Immediately. Show us the battle footage. Kix activated the holographic projector. The council watched in growing horror as the battle unfolded. They saw the Sovereign emerge from hyperspace, saw the Zun fleet fire everything they had, saw their weapons fail to penetrate that dark, brutal hull. Then they watched the Sovereign's response, the rail guns firing, ships disintegrating, the massive spinal cannon destroying 4 vessels with a single shot, nuclear missiles creating artificial suns in the void. The footage ended. The council chamber was silent. How is this possible? Nexra whispered. Their corvettes used primitive chemical weapons. How did they develop such devastating ship-to-ship armaments? Kix pulled up intelligence data. Our xenanthropology teams have compiled information on human history. The data is disturbing. Humans have been at war with each other for their entire recorded history, thousands of years of continuous conflict. They have fought over territory, resources, ideology, religion, everything. He displayed images of Earth's surface, vast oceans, continents covered in cities. They have one home world, one planet, yet they divided it into over 200 separate nations. These nations fought each other, constantly developed weapons, specifically to kill other humans. Another hologram appeared, a mushroom cloud rising above a city. This is a primitive nuclear weapon from human history. They used these against each other over 200 years ago, killed hundreds of thousands of their own kind. Since then, they have refined nuclear technology into precision weapons for space combat. The council members looked at each other. The implications were staggering. They brought their experience fighting themselves into space. Kix continued. Every weapon on that battleship was designed to counter human defenses. When they encountered us, those weapons were equally Effective, more effective actually. Because we have never faced such brutal, optimized destructive capability. Supreme Leader Vorin stood slowly. He was old but still imposing. What are human fleet capabilities? Intelligence suggests Earth possesses approximately 200 major warships, Quacks said. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, if the Sovereign is representative of their capabilities, then each vessel is more powerful than anything in our fleet. Additionally, they have defensive platforms around their colonies, automated weapon systems, missile satellites, layered defenses, 200 ships. Against our 5,000, Vorin said surely. Our numbers provide advantage. Kix hesitated, then he spoke truth. Supreme Leader, I do not believe numbers matter. Against humans, they fight differently than any species we have encountered. They do not seek honorable combat, they seek total victory through overwhelming firepower and superior tactics. They have been refining these methods for millennia. He pulled up more data. Humanity's largest conflict, which they call World War II, involved over 100 million combatants, lasted 6 years, resulted in approximately 70 million deaths. They have experience with total war on a scale we cannot comprehend. The chamber fell into troubled silence. The Zuran Confederation had conquered through superior technology and intimidation. They had never faced an enemy that matched them in ruthlessness and efficiency. What do you recommend? Commander Borin asked. Kerouac took a deep breath. Immediate withdrawal from all human border zones. Formal apology for the attack on Kepler 442. Opening of diplomatic channels, and most importantly, we must ensure that humanity does not view us as a continuing threat. You suggest we surrender? Nexra said coldly. I suggest we survive, Quacks replied. Supreme Leader, I watched 37 of our finest ships destroyed by one human vessel, one old vessel according to their own classification. If Earth deploys their entire fleet against us, we will lose completely, utterly. Another counselor stood. Perhaps we could negotiate alliance, use human military strength to expand Confederation influence. Kerouac shook his head. I do not believe humans can be manipulated easily. They are suspicious by nature. Centuries of fighting each other has made them expert at detecting deception. Any alliance would be on their terms, not ours. Borin paced slowly. His silver scales gleamed under the chamber lights. He had led the Confederation for 60 cycles, had overseen the conquest of 20 star systems. Personally, now he faced a choice that would define his legacy. Draft a formal communication to Earth. Vorin finally said, we will acknowledge our transgression. We will offer reparations for the attack on their colony. We will propose a non-aggression treaty with clearly defined territorial boundaries. Supreme Leader Nexra protested. The Confederation has never apologized to lesser species. Vorin turned to her. His 6 eyes blazed. Then perhaps that is why we now face extinction. Pride is worthless if we are all dead. The humans have shown us something we have not seen in 4 centuries, a species that can match us, perhaps exceed us. We will adapt or we will perish. He looked at Kerouac. Commander, you will lead the diplomatic mission. You have seen human capabilities firsthand. You understand what we face. Make them understand that the Confederation seeks peace. Yes. Supreme Leader and Commander, Vorin, added quietly, make them understand that we are no longer a threat. Because if we fail in this, I fear the Confederation will not survive the next decade. Admiral Stone's decision. 6 days later, the UE Sovereign arrived at the designated border zone. The Third Fleet was already there. 12 battleships hung in formation, each one similar to the Sovereign in design, brutal, functional, deadly. 24 cruisers formed a defensive screen, smaller but no less lethal. Admiral Stone reviewed the fleet. Manifest, the U.S. Thunderchild. Indomitable, relentless vengeance. Names that spoke of human determination. Ships built by a species that had learned long ago that survival meant being willing to fight harder than anyone else. Admiral were receiving a transmission, Chin reported. Zarin. Source, they're requesting parley. Stone raised an eyebrow. Already. That was faster than expected. The message includes formal apologies for the attack. On Kepler 442, they're offering reparations and requesting negotiations for a non-aggression treaty. Stone considered this. Earth Command had expected months of tension, perhaps limited skirmishes. The Zunin were surrendering immediately, completely. Verify the transmission is from official High Command, Stone ordered. Verified, Admiral. It's signed by Supreme Leader Vorin himself. Stone looked at the tactical display. The border zone was empty. No ZA ships, no defensive positions. They had withdrawn completely from this sector. Transmit our response. Stone said, we are willing to negotiate. However, terms will be dictated by Earth. The ZA Confederation will withdraw from all territory within 50 light years of any human colony. They will provide detailed fleet deployment information to ensure transparency. They will agree to immediate military oversight protocols. That's harsh, Admiral Park said. Quietly, they attacked civilians. Stone replied. Her voice was cold. They killed 73 people who were defending their homes. Harsh is what they've earned. The response came within the hour. The Zarin accepted all terms without negotiation. Stone read the message carefully. Then she transmitted a final statement to Supreme Leader Vorin and the Zurin High Command. Humanity accepts your request for peace, but understand this clearly. We do not seek to conquer you. We do not desire your territory. However, if you ever threaten human colonies again, we will not send one battleship. We will send our entire fleet, and we will not stop until your civilization is dust. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Choose wisely. The message was transmitted across Zarin space. Every ship, every station, every world. Humanity's first statement to the galaxy was clear. We will defend our own. We will not be victims, and we are very, very good at war. Admiral Stone watched the stars beyond her viewport. Somewhere out there, other species were monitoring these transmissions, learning about humanity, drawing conclusions. Let them learn. Stone thought, let them understand. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and they had brought 4,000 years of warfare with them. The age of easy conquest was over. Any species that wanted to challenge Earth would have to be willing to pay a price measured in blood and fire. Stone smiled grimly. She hoped they were all wise enough to choose peace, but if they weren't, humanity was ready.